What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of the AST Call-In Show. I'm Noah Strackbine. Super excited to be here. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. We're really pushing those audio downloads, and always find my work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. I remain in good old Florida. I've moved down to Fort Lauderdale, visiting some family for a couple of days. Super excited to be here. Super excited to continue to bring you guys some videos and to dive into everything that I learned at the NFL League meetings and hopefully answer some questions in the meantime. As you can see behind me, a little cloudy, a little overcast. We're going to hope for no rain as we get rocking and rolling. But for right now, we're going to dive into it. Your questions, shout out to all of our members who called in. If you are not a member yet, you can do so by hitting the link in the description below or by going to our YouTube channel and checking out the memberships tab. With that said, we're diving into it. Let's get it going.
Hey, Noah, it's Maddie. Just my question, I guess, for today would be, hold on, I lost it. My question would be, why do we think Aaron Rodgers is going to do any better than Russell Wilson? I mean, you look at it, he had better weapons last year in New York. He had Brees, he had Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams. He had everybody he wanted on that team, and they still went 5-12. So what makes you to believe that he might do better than Russ, even with our O-line? Because they're young, and they still haven't, gelled. And do you have any reservations about him? Coming?
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Appreciate you as always, Maddie. When it comes to Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, obviously everybody's got reservations about him. You know, I don't look at Aaron Rodgers as the next coming of Christ. I don't look at Aaron Rodgers as the guy that's going to save the Pittsburgh Steelers or take them to a Super Bowl. But I do think that he's their best option to go to a Super Bowl in 2025. I don't think the Steelers are a Super Bowl team in my eyes, but I'm not going to rule them out simply because of quarterback. And I think if their identity is to continue to try and fight for a Super Bowl, Aaron Rodgers gives them the best opportunity to do that in 2025. Now, when it comes to his situation with the Jets are barely an organization. You know, they have the worst owner in sports right now. They fired their head coach and their GM. Brees Hall didn't really have the greatest year last year, so much so that they're looking to bring in other options and have him compete for a starting job. Garrett Wilson's great, but they didn't really mesh well. I think he has better options in Pittsburgh. I think he's got a better offensive line in Pittsburgh if everything clicks and gels correctly. And then on top of that, I just think it's a better situation. I think it's a place where Aaron Rodgers comes with veteran coaches, veteran leadership around him. He doesn't have to be the savior. He's just here to be a quarterback that gives them a fighting chance for a Super Bowl. And that's all the Steelers are looking for in Aaron Rodgers. It's just a guy that could come in here and give them an opportunity. Again, it might not work out, but it's their best option. It's his best option to go win a Super Bowl unless Minnesota decides to call and say, never mind, we're back in, come here. But I don't see that happening. I think that the way it sits right now, Aaron Rodgers gives the Pittsburgh Steelers what they're looking for in 2025. It doesn't really make a difference what he did last year. He's still one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And you have to look at that and say, okay, if the Steelers are looking to win right now, which they are, that's their plan. They've been very straightforward with that. Then he's your best shot. And then after that, you figure out your long-term plan in 2026, which is what their plan is to go all in on a quarterback next year, but for right now, try to win a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. And I think that works. And I think it's a good plan. I think it's a dramatic plan the way Aaron Rodgers is going about it. But I think that on the Steelers side of things, it makes complete sense.
Hey, Nick. This is your boy Grayson the Ginger. And I'm finally calling back in after missing the last few weeks here.
Yes,
quite honestly, Tuesday at work is hellacious, and I just keep forgetting. But I actually set a little reminder on my phone. And, I just want to start off by saying I appreciate everything that you and Nick did for us, and I'm a little bummed out that Nick is gone, but I know that you will carry the flag as always.
Yes,
But
sir.
my man, I have a question here for you, and it's a little bit of a good one, and I don't know if somebody's asked this one yet, but I want to get your version of this. The
Okay.
NFL has the all-pro teams every year. Well, let's say there is a all-Steelers team. What
Okay.
would be your selection for every position for the team? And also, I appreciate you, man, and I hope that you have a good rest of your week and a safe trip back to the Berg. Peace out, man.
Appreciate you as always. We are holding the fort down. Haven't texted Nick, although yesterday's podcast with the internet going crazy, I should have texted him and said, "Yo, dude, gonna need you to come back. Gonna need you to quit that job already and come back to good old all Steelers talk." An all Steelers team. Let's keep it in the realm of the Steel. Let's go AFC North. You know what I mean? Or maybe even AFC. Let's just go AFC. Let's keep it limited. All right. And we're just gonna go skill positions on both sides of the ball. Quarterback for me is Patrick Mahomes, no questions asked. But last year, the way things went down, it was Lamar Jackson. We'll go 2024 season and we'll pick that. Lamar Jackson's at quarterback. Running back, oh, that is so tough, actually. Running back's a really good one. Running back is a really good one. Derrick Henry is got to be up there, but Saquon Barkley's the easy. I guess if we're going AFC, it's Derrick Henry. If we're going everybody, it's Saquon, which opens it up. We have to go everybody now. Now I've made that decision because Saquon easily deserves to be there. Going Saquon at running back. Wide receivers. Oh, that's so tough too. Who at Justin Jefferson has got to be up there carrying the load with Sam Darnold, I think is on that list. We'll give you 3. Man, it's so difficult when you spend all your Sundays watching the Steelers. You obviously got to pay attention, but looking back to the 2024 season, Justin Jefferson is on that list, no questions asked. I'm trying to run through divisions here and see who really took off and who had those that crazy year that I think deserves to be on this list. Justin Jefferson. All right, we'll come back to wide receiver. Tight end, to me, oh, man, this is a tough one, too. This is so tough because you can't go Travis Kelce. You didn't have the year. You can't really go George Kittle. And I feel like I'm going to forget somebody, and then everybody's going to call me out on it and say, I can't believe that you didn't name this guy, which is going to happen either way. And again, on the spot, this is so difficult to come up with. Let's go with the big ones. Let's go with the easy ones here. Okay. We're going Lamar Jackson at quarterback, Saquon at running back. I'm going to go Justin Jefferson is one of the wide receivers. Tight end. Man, who broke? Oh, Brock Bowers. We'll go Brock Bowers at tight end. I think he had obviously the best career or the best rookie season that you could have as a tight end. We'll go him at tight end. At corner, I mean, I think Byron Murphy deserves to be on that list for sure. I think, oh, that's so hard. Trent McDuffie deserves to be on that list for sure. I think Darius Slay should be on that list. I think he's got to be on that list somewhere. Who else? I don't know. I could keep going. I'm going to forget guys, so I apologize here. This is an on-the-spot question. Linebackers, Fred Warner is always the easy answer at inside linebacker. Outside linebackers, or we'll go edge rushers here. We'll go Trey Hendrickson and then TJ Watt / Nick Bolton, because I don't think you could take Nick Bolton off that list. Safeties. Who was crazy at safety this year? This is the hardest question I've ever gotten. Who was crazy at safety this year? Kyle Hamilton should be on that list. Sucks to say, but Kyle Hamilton should be on that list. Justin Reed, Kansas City Chiefs, should be on that list. CJ Gardner-Johnson should be on that list. Kirby Joseph should be on that list. That's a deep one. Chris Boswell is my kicker. No questions asked. I don't know. I'm going to have to come back to the wide receiver. So I'm going to have to give you an answer. I don't know if it'll be today, but I'm going to have to give you an answer at wide receiver. That one's too tough for me to call right now.
Noah, this is JC, a.k.a. Macaroni Salad. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yes, sir.
Dude, okay. So I know you're down in Florida. I'm listening to Dale Lally and D. Mike Williamson. And Dale Lally's talking about a colleague who flew into Fort Lauderdale, put in the La Quinta Hotel, and drove to Miami,
Oh, gosh.
which is south of Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, no.
Instead of West Palm Beach, not Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, which is north. And I knew right away, bro, it was you. I knew right away.
Unbelievable.
And man, I'm listening to your show today, and you talked about it. And I was like, oh, my God, I knew that was you.
Oh,
anyway,
that's bad.
Just wanted to have a laugh with you. I do have some questions, but I'll call back later with those. Love you, bro. Love Nick, the producer down in the corner. You guys are awesome. My favorite
Yes,
show.
sir. Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Yes, sir. That was me, dude. That's hilarious. I'm about to text Dale right now and let him know. Thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate the shout out on the show. That's hilarious. It was. And look I got to see all of Florida. Okay. And everybody said, why'd you go? You went south. You should have went. I'm like, that. You think I know Florida? I live in Pittsburgh. Okay. I couldn't tell you. I drive through my part of the city to get to Scranton, Pennsylvania, which is east of Pittsburgh, but I live on the west side of the city. Doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sorry. I got to do some good driving in Miami, and luckily everybody drives crazy down here. So you just have to match that energy. And I got there in the lick of time. We were fine. That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
What is up, Nick and Noah? Thank you so much for hosting another episode of the All Steelers Talk call-in show. My
Yes, sir.
name is Sam Morgan, a.k.a. Bird Fan. Yes, I know that Nick does not normally host this show, but I was hoping to bring him out of the shadows on this one.
I'll text
During
him.
the off-season, you both had pretty strong opinions that were not very supportive of Mason Rudolph, particularly Nick. I was hoping to get an explanation for that. I just want to understand. My position is that he is still young enough and he can win games in the NFL. He does have a good long ball. He has never been given the opportunity to take the first team snaps through the entire offseason and into the regular season. You said yourself that Ben probably had a negative impact on Mason by not really helping him.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ben may have been scared of him taking his job. That might say a lot about the guy.
Yes,
I
sir.
love me some Ben Roethlisberger, but Mason could possibly be the next Steelers franchise quarterback. He has done more with less when he did get an opportunity, and guys like Geno and Sam have shown that quarterbacks can develop later in their careers.
Agreed.
By the way, I love the show. Nick, you will be missed. With that said, I am heading out of here. Thank you so much for taking my call. Enjoy another great day in the Berg or the DMV for Nick.
I appreciate you. That was awesome. All right, let's talk Mason Rudolph. And I can't give you Nick's answer, but I'll text Nick. I'll make sure that I send this clip to him and I'll get your response for hopefully later today. When it comes to Mason, a franchise quarterback, that's a hot take. It's a supported hot take. Like, I understand where you're coming from. I think 2 years ago is a much better situation to give Mason Rudolph the reins and say, all right, dude, what can you do? Can you be that guy than it is right now? I do think he would have struggled last year. I think anybody would have struggled last year, but I do think he'd get a better opportunity. He did do more with less. That's important to acknowledge, and I'm glad that you brought it up. Matt Canada was the worst offensive coordinator in the history of the NFL. He didn't really have great wide receivers, although Deontay was doing much better than, he's currently doing right now. You look at the running game, stronger with Jaylen Warren and hopefully a rookie than he's going to have. The offensive line will have developed, and hopefully, I think the offensive line was pretty good that year outside of Mason Cole, and hopefully he's got a better offensive line this year. I don't know if Mason could be a franchise quarterback. I don't know if I'm sold on that take, but I do think that Mason in a starting role can get you what you need. I think that Mason in a starting role has more potential than he's shown so far. I agree with that. I think he's done more with less. I think he has had a tough road so far in the NFL, and who knows if he could turn that around and have a much better situation here in 2025. I think all that is on the table. I'm not going to sit here and say Mason's not the guy. I think you go back a couple, like in comparison to Justin Fields and so many others, I'm going Mason way down on that list. Compared to Aaron Rodgers, I'm going Mason Rudolph way down on that list. But I'm not going to rule him out as being a surprise guy this season. Now, that being said, I never really thought the Minnesota Vikings were going to win the Super Bowl. I still don't have the faith in a guy like Sam Darnold to be a franchise quarterback. I have to. It's got to be more than a year. Geno Smith, I don't view as a franchise quarterback. I think he's a real middle of the line franchise guy. If he is, he's good, but like it's not great. And that's not what the Steelers are looking for. That's my pushback in that situation is Mason is not the guy that the Pittsburgh Steelers want to be their franchise quarterback, because at most right now, he's a middle of the line starting franchise quarterback. And okay, that's not the worst thing in the world. You could be way worse, but you could do much better. So for a season, great. But if you're going for a season, you might as well go all out with Aaron Rodgers. That's how I view that. Like there's no, if the argument is Mason's better than Aaron, it's wrong, because Mason might be better than Aaron. That's fair to say, but he might not even be close to Aaron Rodgers. I do think he's got untapped potential. I do. I'm not going to push back on that one. I do think he's got untapped potential. I think that he could surprise us. I do. And I would be the first to admit I was wrong about Mason Rudolph. I was the first to admit I was wrong about Mason Rudolph when he stunned us 2 years ago, because I was a big critic of Mason Rudolph. Big critic of Mason Rudolph. I thought he was terrible. I could be wrong. And if I am, I'll admit it. Right now, where we stand currently, Aaron Rodgers looks like the clear-cut answer, the easy one. Now, again, he's got to prove that. He's got to be that guy. Mason's got to get a year to see if he could be that guy. He's got untapped potential. I don't know if he's a franchise quarterback. At 29 years old, it's tough to say he's going to be. But I do agree he's got untapped skills. He could do more than what he's put on the field so far. I just don't think he's the long-term plan for the Steelers. And I truly think that even if he is, next year is just such a good draft for quarterbacks that you can't sit around and say, like, Mason would have to have the craziest year ever this year to shut down the thought of next year not getting a franchise quarterback or trying to get a franchise quarterback. And I don't know if he could do that. I just truthfully don't know if he could do that.
Hello, this is JC, a.k.a. Macaroni Salad again.
Yes, sir.
Hey, so do you remember, I guess it was probably 3, 4, 5 months ago, where George Pickens was asked what legends would he love to play with, and it was
Yes, I do.
Ed Reed and Aaron Rodgers. So
Yes, he was.
I firmly believe that if we sign Aaron Rodgers, George is going to play out the final year of his contract because he wants to play with Aaron Rodgers, and line up across the side with DK. He's going to have an amazing year, and I can see where the Steelers actually lock him up like a Jamar Chase and T. Higgins kind of double deal there. And then we draft quarterback next year, and we have, like Mike Williamson said, the nest around with all the pieces in place. It's almost like Ben Roethlisberger when he got drafted, had a great team around him. Just don't screw it up, and you grow with it. And I think that's where we're going to head. Your thoughts on that? I would love to know it. Thanks, bud.
Appreciate you, my man. First off, great question. Great laughs today. Appreciate you. I don't think George would play just because of Aaron Rodgers. I just don't. That doesn't strike me as George. I could be way off on this guy, and I hope that I am. Like, I truthfully hope that I am. But it just does, everything I've seen from him, the way he acts, the attitude, the issues that have already come up throughout his 3 years, really tough to say George is that guy. George is going to be the guy that's like, oh, yeah, I'm so pumped to just play football. That's it. It doesn't strike me as that. And I've heard so many times throughout the years of, like, George is not a guy who would do something like that. That is, his love for football is awesome, but his selfish attitude kind of stands out, and it sucks. I hope I'm wrong on him. I do. Like, I truly do hope I'm wrong on him. That being said, my biggest takeaway from the league meetings and talking to Omar and Mike and Art Rooney is that the Steelers do not plan to get rid of George Pickens. Not right now. And I was way wrong on that one. Way wrong on that one. I don't know if they know something I don't, and maybe they do, but it sure sounds like George Pickens is going to be here in 2025, and they're going to negotiate with them, and they're going to try to figure this thing out. Again, maybe they had those conversations of, we're bringing in DK, we're bringing in somebody, you are going to play the last year of your deal, and you're going to like it. Maybe that's the case. Maybe it is. I don't know yet, but it sure sounds like he's going to be here in 2025. If he plays well, and you could have those two and there are no issues, which is a big question mark, but one that's going to be answered, I mean, you definitely keep them. You don't let those guys go. You don't let George Pickens go if you don't need to. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's a fantastic wide receiver duo. Plus you get Calvin Austin. Plus you get Roman Wilson, hopefully. Pat Fryermuth's there. You just brought in Donald Parham. You have Darnell Washington, Jaylen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, who's a receiving back. I mean, it works out so well for the Steelers. I don't know if George is going to have issues. That's the question. If there are no issues, he's not going anywhere. If there are issues, he's gone. That's what it comes down to. Plain and simple, that's what it comes down to. It's in George's court. It's not the Steelers. They clearly want him to stay. They made that very clear. It's in George's court to say, am I going to screw it up? Am I going to give them a reason to get rid of me? We're going to see. We're going to find out. But that's what it comes down to. Not the Steelers side of things, which I'm surprised about, but not the Steelers side of things. This is on George.
Hey, Noah, this is Andrew from Florida, although I am in basically the opposite side of Florida. So
okay. Well, I pretty much drove there, so.
This weekend while you're here. But otherwise, drinks would be on me. But anyways.
Appreciate you.
I wanted to know if you had any sort of guess as to what the main reason for the holdup in the Rodgers decision is. Because I don't think Rodgers would hold out for Minnesota on the off chance that they'd sign him, because he doesn't know what we're going to do in the draft. And we could easily just say, yeah, we're going to draft the quarterback if you don't sign here, and then that plan's kaput for him. And if he were retiring, I mean, I guess obviously he wouldn't be throwing footballs with DK Metcalf. So, what are we missing? Is it possible this is like some sort of cap-related issue and the Steelers are just waiting after a certain date to sign him and make it official? Or, is this really just as simple as Rodgers is just being a diva?
I hate to break it to you, but I think, and this is just a guess, but I think it's just Rodgers being a diva. I truly, truly think it's just Rodgers being a diva and us having to bear through this thing and see if it works. Like, I think he's coming to Pittsburgh. Everybody else believes he's coming to Pittsburgh. Everything I was told and heard at the league meetings was Aaron Rodgers is going to be in Pittsburgh this year. But everybody also constantly secured at the end of that answer, it's Aaron Rodgers, man. And every time you try to fight with yourself and tell you he's not this dramatic, he is. And I think that's all it is he's loving the light. He's loving the attention. He's really, really dragging this thing out. It's crazy to think that way. It's crazy to think somebody is like that. I'm trying so hard not to think that somebody is like that. But just everything I've been told, and I'll relay it to you, is that's just who he is. That's who he's going to be. So I don't think it's anything else. Nothing else makes any sense to me. And again, I keep fighting against it to say, guys, I'm not going to take your opinion and create my opinion of Aaron Rodgers through that. Sources, everybody, executives, everybody around the league that talks to me about this stuff. What I will do is just tell you that everybody tells me that that's how he is. And that seems to be what's going on here, which is crazy, but that seems to be what's going on here.
Hey, Nick, this is your boy Grayson the Ginger.
I do it once a show.
What is up, Nick and Noah? Thank you so much for hosting another episode of the All Steelers Talk Challenge.
I think we did this one too. I think we did this one too.
Hey, Noah, it's Ernie Jones. I just got a thought that came up in my head because I was watching highlights on DK Metcalf.
Yes, sir.
Monster. I'm going to tell you that.
Yes, sir.
The quick question, but I'm saying this in hypothetical terms. If we win a Super Bowl this year with Aaron Rodgers and we keep George Pickens and have DK Metcalf, and I don't know about this Marshall guy from Carolina, I read up and it said that Steelers are interested in him. But I'm just saying this, I got a thought. Since we got a bunch of comp picks next year from Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, yada, 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 why don't we trade some of them comp picks, hear me out, get wide receiver Brandon Ayuk, sign George Pickens to a lower deal, and have DK Metcalf go get studs and use the comp picks to get some strong studs. Me personally, I would do that if I was a GM of Pittsburgh, if I was the con artist. Would you do that? Let me know. Talk to you later. Bye.
It's a great hypothetical. And I wish I read it, or I wish I heard this last night, because I was with dinner with Omar last night. I was with dinner with Omar, Mike, Rooney, Roger Goodell was there. Shout out. It was a pretty star-studded event, to be honest with you, for an intimate dinner. And I'm very grateful to have been in the presence of those people and to have what was a fantastic dinner. Let me tell you, fantastic. I drove to the uncle's afterwards, got here like 10:30, something like that. And they were like, "You hungry?" I was like, "No, I don't think I actually want food for like 4 days because of how good that food was." And I would have asked them. The only flaw that I have in this for you is money. That's the only flaw that you're going to come up with, is you can't pay TJ Watt, DK Metcalf, George Pickens, Brandon Ayuk, Pat Freiermuth, Aaron Rodgers, all these guys. You just don't have the money. Doesn't exist. Brandon Ayuk would be awesome, and I think you can make that part of it work, the acquiring Brandon Ayuk part of it work. You're not going to get Brandon Ayuk and then keep George Pickens. That's not going to happen, because negotiations go two ways. It's a two-way street always, and George is not going to sit here and say, "I'm going to be third fiddle, and I'm going to take the lesser of the deal from these two." That's never going to happen. Never in a million years. So that's the biggest flaw in that situation, is George would not take lesser money to be number 3 in a league where he's the youngest of the group, or on a team where he's the youngest of the group and probably has the most upside. He just wouldn't do it. That part wouldn't work. The player team negotiation wouldn't work. Now, if we're playing Madden, I would do that in a heartbeat. If it was a perfect world, I would do that in a heartbeat. Wouldn't even think twice about it. I think it'd be awesome. Then it doesn't even matter who your quarterback is at that point, and you could go get somebody next year. You could go give up a couple of first-round picks and be fine. I just don't think, realistically, it wouldn't happen, because George wouldn't take that money. And there'd be no reason for him to take that money. Like, there's no argument. It's not even like George is a jerk. No, it wouldn't even be any of that. It would just be simply, he's the youngest with the most upside. It just doesn't make any sense for him to want to take the lesser contract and be a third. He wouldn't do it. His agent wouldn't advise him to do it. I wouldn't advise him to do it. I'm pro player, and I don't think that would work out. I don't think it would work out. Now, in a perfect world, it'd be awesome, but in this one, it just not realistic for the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, y'all. With that said, that is all of our questions on this episode of the AST Call-In Show. I appreciate all of our members for calling in. Once again, if you are not a member and would like to become one, you can check out the membership tab on our YouTube page, or you can just hit the link in the description below. Shout out to everybody who called in. Appreciate you guys as always. For everybody else, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Checks out anywhere you get your podcasts. Please, please, please hit us with that 5-star review on Apple and Spotify and everywhere else. And as always, you can find all of my work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. I'll be back later for the regular show at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Until then, enjoy a beautiful one, or I hope it's a beautiful one, in the Berg. Peace.